right, I'm here with Pete Schwartzkopf. Pete, can you tell me what you think this means for Delaware politics and Democratic politics in the state of Delaware?
I think it's a huge wake-up call. It's, I think the people of Delaware, the Democrats in Delaware, the everyday Democrat, not the people that are in power, have just risen up and just said, hey, we've had enough of this nonsense. And, I've had the conversation with the leaders of the party. When you make a decision to endorse one candidate over another, when you have two statewide elected officials, very popular people, and everybody says it's going to be a 50-50 split, a very close race, when you make a decision to endorse one over the other, you in effect are saying, I don't care about 50% of the party. And that's not my leadership. So I think it's going to be a huge wake-up call. I've said all along, John Carney's a good man. I like John Carney. He's a very nice man. I just think that Jack has better vision for our state. It's that simple. I think we need to go in a different direction, and Jack gives us change. Jack gives us the change that we need. A clean break from everything that's status quo down in Dover. And I'm just really, really excited that we pulled through here. And it just, to me, it's just the start of a new day in politics.
So let me ask you another question. John Atkins has won tonight as well, and so he's now a Democrat.
He is a Democrat, been so for 4 months or so.
Now, how do you jive supporting these two guys? I mean, one seems sort of more of an old boys network, and the other one seems like the new wave progressive.
Actually, I want to say first and foremost, John Atkins is my friend. We went to Dover back in 2002 together. I didn't know him before that election. I like John a lot. John had some bad times. He came up there with a sense of entitlement, that he was entitled to do certain things. He was entitled to get away with things. He was 32 years old when he went there. And at one point I said something to him. I said, John, you can't do stuff like that. And he said, Pete, what would you be doing if you were 32 years old up here? I said, you know what, probably the same thing. Only I would listen to my elders, because I'm a little bit older than John is. John really ran into some problems. He made some very, very poor decisions. He knows it. He went through a living hell. He went through days when he didn't even want to get out of bed during that whole process. And it's like when we were talking, and he finally, John and I weren't talking when this thing happened, because he had really angered me over some other issues in the election, and we weren't talking. And I really didn't see us ever getting back together as friends, our friendship. And but I made a statement on the radio, and he heard it. And I said that at that point, I thought John needed to resign for the betterment of himself and his family, as well as Dover and the state. And I said it, and I basically said, but if John reaches out, I will be the first. Sometime a long time ago, probably January maybe. At some point, he reached out a long time ago, and he basically said, "Can we talk?" We met. We talked for a long, long time. And when he thought it was over, I said, now you go talk to my wife. So I took him back, and he talked to my wife. And he basically got up when he got ready to leave, and very emotional. He and my wife both, and basically said, I am so sorry for everything I ever did to hurt you and your family. I am so sorry. In conversations I've had with John, he paid his dues. He went in and pled guilty. He had 26 weeks of counseling, anger management counseling, and it's kind of ironic because the first 2 weeks he went to anger management counseling, he was mad that he had to go. So, and then he said, I sat back and I thought about the third week, I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm going to anger management class and I'm mad. He said, at that point I decided to just go, see what they had to offer. And he said, I learned an awful lot about myself that I didn't like. And he changed. He has changed. He's not drinking that I know of. I haven't seen him touch anything in the time that we've been back as buddies. He's a much different person. He's lost the arrogant edge that he had. He's lost that whole feeling of entitlement. He's a nice guy. I do believe that the 41st District believes in second chances. And, he had a 24-hour bad period, and then he compounded it by trying to lie his way out of it, and it just steamrolled on him. And he told me, he said, I was going down the drain. I didn't know how to stop the whirlwind. He said, and it got to the point where I just didn't even want to leave the house. And he told me one day, and this is when I knew that I had the good part of John. And he said, I almost lost my wife. I almost lost my kids. I lost my self-respect. And I lost my district. And he said, and you can't go through that without growing the hell up. And he said, I've learned an awful lot about myself, and I don't ever want to be like that again. And and I'm willing to give him a second chance. And the people in the 41st District gave him a second chance tonight. And he's the Democratic nominee. Now, I was kind of hoping for a bigger split, on the percentages. I think it was, 54-46. I'll be kind of busy here. I was kind of hoping, and he was too, for a bigger split. But you have to keep in mind, he's only been a Democrat for 4 months, a little over 4 months maybe. And he has to earn their trust. And I think he took a big step toward doing that today. I've heard that some are worried that he'll just switch back to Republican when he gets elected. That's not happening. He told me that during this whole thing, the only phone calls that he really got from people in elected officials and things to check on his well-being were from Democrats. And he said that the Republican Party kicked me to the curb. They didn't want anything to do with me, but the Democrats cared about my wife and my family. And he said, I want to help the people of this district. That's what's in my blood. That's what I want to do. And he said, I don't want to belong to that party. He's still a conservative and is represented down there for 20-some years. Charlie's just as conservative, if not more conservative, than John Atkins. So, I mean, it's not like they haven't had a conservative Democrat. We talked about issues. On some of the social issues, John is free to vote his opinion. If he makes it in the election next, in November, and he comes to the House, he will sit amongst us. He will sit in our caucus. He will have even voice, just like everybody else. He'll have an equal voice. He can sit there and disagree with us all he wants. The only thing that I've asked him not to do is tell us downstairs what you're doing in the caucus, but we're not going to embarrass each other on the House floor. And that's one of the neat things about our caucus. We talk to each other. We like each other. We discuss things. If we have differences of opinion, we settle it downstairs, or we come upstairs and basically say, I can't vote for this, and sit down. And that's it. He's going to represent his district. We expect him to represent his district because we want him to keep coming back. And that's how you come back, by voting the will of your district. And if it doesn't meet my will, that's too bad. So,
you think he'll withdraw his corporal punishment bill if he comes back?
Actually, that whole thing got kind of blown up a little bit. John was joking around one night, and he was at a dinner with the New River School Board, and one of the members of the school board is the one that brought it up to him. So he just kind of floated it out there on the radio show the next day, basically said, I'm thinking about doing something with corporal punishment, only because it was brought to him by a member of the school board. And it just took on life of its own. And that's what,
the bill's still in committee.
Well, not now.
Yeah, I saw it. It's still
he's gone. Nobody introduced it. It died at the end of the last session.
Huh, okay. I thought I saw it on there.
No, well, it dies. It dies. It effectively has died at June 30th. So, the bottom line is when you have somebody with a personality like John's or mine, or Jack's, or whatever, who speaks your mind, or basically kids around sometimes and comes out with something, sometimes it just takes a life, and you can't stop it. You can't, no matter how much you want to say, hey, I was just kidding about stuff. It just goes. I tell you, you guys have changed the tenor of politics in this state. I mean, I said it earlier, I think that John Carney underestimated the young people of the state. I think he underestimated you guys in the blogosphere, and you do a lot. You have a lot of people listening in.
All right.
I think that the smart politicians are the ones that embrace you.
Thanks a lot, Pete.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
I appreciate it.